screen a little bit more. Well, it is good to see all of you here in person. My name is Arendt, and I'm a research scientist over at the eScience Institute here at the University of Washington. It's located just a couple of blocks down on the main campus. Maybe we'll get a chance to head over there today or later in the week to go to the studio. But it's really a pleasure to be back in person. We have been offering Hackweeks virtually for the last couple of years, and this is our first time to come back together in person. And we really had to shift gears, and we figured out a lot of ways to run these collaborative events online, and we're shifting back again to kind of remember what it's like to be in person and really appreciating kind of what we're going to be able to do when we're face to face and we can collaborate directly a little bit more easily than we can virtually. So these Hack Weeks will come together when someone in the community approaches us wanting to run one of these events. In this case, it's the SnowEx community, all of you, and then partnering with us at the eScience Institute, where we provide kind of the scaffolding and the essence of the model for us to set that up and run for groups. And so this creates this group of people that I have shown on this slide here. In our case, over 30 folks have come together with this event together this week, and it's just been a real pleasure working with that team. We've been meeting every week or so for the past couple of months. It's a lot of planning that goes into these events, and it's not just all the amazing tutorial content that you'll be experiencing this week, all the planning that goes into that, but also how do we set up the project time? How do we obviously plan all the logistics as well? So really want to express my gratitude to all of these folks who have come together to make this event happen. Quick shout out today to our administrative team at eScience. We've got Shrusti over here helping us with the technical work. We've got Louisa taking photos. We've got Jenny at the front desk. And I'm not sure if Anne is here yet, but you've interacted with Anne a lot in the emails and logistics. And there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes to make this happen. So if you get a chance to thank those folks, please do so, as well as all the rest of the team here throughout the week. And I really want to thank all of you. I know this is a big commitment of your time to take a week off to come and meet with us in this way, especially folks that are coming in from out of town. Really appreciate that. And it really speaks to the value of coming together and building this community together and taking the time to really make that happen. So we're going to have an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit more. My colleague Charley here is going to be leading a connection activity right when I'm finished speaking, but I just wanted to start by thanking all of you for coming today. The funding for this program comes from generous support from the SnowEx program, from the Hydrological Sciences Division. And we want to thank Jared Anton and all the folks at NASA for giving us the support to make this happen. The Hackweeks themselves came out of support at the eScience Institute from, originally it was a couple of foundations, the Moore and the Sloan foundations, that really allowed us to experiment with these kinds of activities and build a model over the years. So that's sort of the foundation of how we're here today. And I want to acknowledge a group called 2IBC. It's a nonprofit organization that we've been partnering with to set up all the computational infrastructure. We used to do all that ourselves, and now it's really nice to be able to shift that over to these folks, setting up the Jupyter Hub that you'll be running today. All right, so as we gather back together in person, we're mindful of our public health and our safety around COVID-19. The protocols for our policy around that are listed on the website at the link here in this slide. And I'm just going to highlight 3 elements of that so that we can just have that at the top of our mind as we get started here. The first is that we are following University of Washington protocols around masking, which is to be strongly recommended to be masking while indoors. We will have an opportunity, as you can see, to work. It looks like the courtyard is not being used by another group. So feel free, if you'd like to get outside, you can do that as well. And the wireless should be just fine out there if you do want to, especially during our project time, have some time outside. As you saw at the front desk, we have testing kits. I believe the folks in the dorms got each a testing kit as part of their welcoming package, and we'll have those available throughout the week. We encourage you to test throughout the week. I'm planning to test every morning before I come in. And so this will be another way that we can gather data and ensure that we just have the best knowledge about any possibility of transmission. In the unfortunate event that anyone does test positive, please check out our website about the next steps to follow. That primarily involves informing Jenny either on the text or phone or email. And then, of course, really making sure not to come into the event to ensure that we don't have any additional spread. And we have all the steps outlined there, what our protocols are to take care of any folks in the unfortunate event that that happens. So please just come find any of us if you have questions about any of that. I want to talk a little bit about how you can give and get help during the Hack Week. On our website in the Jupyter book, in the references section on this link here, there is a nice flow chart that shows you for different types of questions that you may have in each of those columns. How can I get some help so that I can be most efficient in finding out how to solve questions or issues that I have? There's this sort of pre-responder things you might be able to do on your own, and then who's the first person you would talk to and the second responder. So that's a good starting point if you do need some help at the Hack Week. Now, we use Slack, of course, extensively when we're meeting virtually, and we'll continue to use it here in a similar way around getting help. Any kind of question you have, go ahead and just post that on the Hackweek help channel on our Slack group. And one of us will be monitoring that throughout the event. And we can jump on. Usually this is, technical questions around, I can't get connected to Jupyter Hub or whatever the case may be. We'll jump on and give you some help. We'll respond in a thread just to keep that conversation organized. But there's no question that's, shouldn't be asked you. Just go ahead and, because usually somebody will have a similar question, and then we can make sure that lots of folks get that answered all at once. We've designed the event to be as accessible as possible. If there are any ways that we can make things more accessible for you, please let us know. We are webcasting the tutorials and providing them a link to them on YouTube after the event so that you can view them afterwards as well. But please let us know if there's anything else that we can be doing. Okay, and so I'm going to shift to just spend a few moments talking about Hack Weeks, and then we will have a little chance to get to know each other a bit here. We like to start all of our events just by reflecting on kind of why we're here and what is the purpose of a Hack Week. And so I'd like to talk through some of the sort of core values that we strive towards in hosting these events. So Hack Weeks are participant-driven events that try to create welcoming spaces for people to learn new things, to work in teams, and to build their network. And so there are these sort of 6 core values that we think about in events. And I'm just going to talk through those right now. The first is that we try to foster a sense of belonging. And so, while we spend a lot of time preparing content about technical tools and research and data science, we also try to attend to sort of the relational side of doing science and what it means to collaborate and what it means to work in groups. And we hope that that creates a space where everyone feels like they can be included and that we can all kind of work together in building this community. The second is that we are focused on gaining experience in conducting data-intensive research. So, of course, we'll be talking about science and research around snow studies. We always want to come at it from an angle of the data science perspective. We're here to learn about the data tools and the methods and the techniques for handling large, noisy, complex data sets, taking advantage of cloud resources, all these things that are emerging in the data science field. So we're coming at it from that angle, and all of our trainings kind of from that approach. The next one is we encourage immersive and interactive learning. We really believe that learning these tools comes through gaining hands-on experience. So we try to design things that are as interactive as possible. And we also are aware that there's so much new knowledge emerging in this field. And so not any single one of us is an expert on these tools. So this notion of peer learning or learning from everyone else is one that we really try to foster. And so we hope that that sort of permeates the event and the learning that we experience throughout the week. The next is we're doing our best to incorporate elements of co-creation with all of you. We're not prescribing every single moment of this event. It's not just a series of talks. It's going to be time that's open, where we have structures that really encourage you to bring your creative energy to the table and to kind of really feel into what are the things I want to learn this week? What do I want to accomplish for myself? And then kind of help create that together with other team members. So this is obviously, sometimes kind of a messy process, but we try to create ways in which we can all kind of build that together. And, time and again, we've seen that the outcomes of that tend to generate a lot more creativity, a lot more energy, and new things emerging that we might not have even imagined. And the next is, obviously this is a great opportunity for us to build our networks, and especially now that we're back in person. So I would encourage you to maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit once in a while. If you're used to hanging out with the same group of people, maybe try and meet somebody new at the coffee break. You never know what these new connections might bring as you go forward in your work. So we try to create opportunities and time for that as well. The last one is kind of the foundation of all of these different things that we try to achieve in a hack week, and that is we adhere to and we enforce a code of conduct. And all of you are already in signing up for this event have agreed to and had a look at the code of conduct, and we are continuing to base our work in that this week. And so that is posted on our website, and if anyone has any concerns or needs to report a code of conduct violation, you can find information on the website as to how to go about that. All right, there are three other things. We usually try to define three key areas of that we focus on for every individual event. I was gonna invite HP, maybe I'll speak to it a bit, HP, and you can jump in if you have anything to add. This year, we're really thinking a lot about sharing the SnowEx data. And we focused a bit on that last time as well. But a lot of this is centered on developing a core database, a centralized place for people to come and get at this data, so that the barrier is minimized for people to actually get their hands on data and start working with it. And also just creating a greater atmosphere of sharing data across teams. So that was the second one. That's funny. Sharing SnowEx data sets analysis. You get the picture here. These two are related. I'm going to jump to the community collaborations. I want to say a quick word about that. We are going to have a session where we talk about kind of what's emerging in the SnowEx community and the emergence of some of these new missions coming forward, and how do we approach that as a community and work together, and how do we do that in an open science kind of capacity. That's going to be a really interesting topic for us to delve into a bit later. HP, I'll create some time for you to jump in on that a bit later as well, if that works for you. All right, so here we are, 2022 SnowEx Hack Week. I'm going to check in and see if we have any logistics announcements before I hand it over to Charley. Let me try to remember. We did the release forms. Oh, yes. Okay, lunch. Let me say a few bookkeeping things. We have lunch meal cards that I think the folks at the dorms already got a meal card. I think there's been a little delay in getting the meal cards for the rest of us. And so probably the rest of you don't have a meal card yet, but we will have them on our way out to lunch at the front desk. So do not fear, we'll have a lunch provided. One year the meal cards didn't work and I put them all on my credit card and it worked out. So we'll eat lunch one way or the other. We will be breaking for coffee frequently, but feel free to get up anytime. We'll grab a coffee. You may have seen that the restrooms are up on the second floor. There's an elevator if anyone needs to use that. This space up here, the balcony view, is available. Probably don't want to be using it during the tutorials, but you can. It could be a nice space for project work as well. And then we do have two additional rooms. I think it's 217 and 218. I think there's another group in 216, so you should see them. And feel free to use those at any time. Even if it's during the lecture tutorial, happen in the morning. And let's say you just need a little bit of time to work on something, check on your email, whatever it is. up to you. Feel free to just move around the space as you do. And of course, the outdoor spaces are available too. The only issue here is that you don't come back doors, right? Okay. So feel free, you just have to wait for somebody to get back in if you want to come back in those doors, boys. Come back in. Unfortunately, we can't keep the doors propped open, the alarms go off. Any questions on any of them?
Good morning, everyone. I am Charley Haley. I am the one that has been nudging you along to fill out your profile slides. I selfishly do that. I enjoy looking at who's going to attend so much and how creative you get with your profiles, right? So when, many of us, if we don't come here with a gang, with our own tribe, it's a little anxiety producing to be in a room with people that you don't know. So we're trying to get that started in a way that at least we're going to do a little activity that'll, a structured activity, so you don't have to make it up on your own, because that's anxiety producing in itself, right? So we're going to do a little structured activity for you to at least meet 5 other people here that you don't know, so that at least then, when we take breaks or go to lunch, you can glam on to one, those people that you already know before you meet others. Let's see. You can't see the slide here, but in looking through the slide deck, I saw automatically, I'm like, oh, 4-legged Doug would probably really like to meet 4-legged Ikebana. Am I saying that correctly? Ikebana, is Ikebana's owner here? So maybe you could find a Doug's owner somewhere. I wish they were here with us. Okay, so I know there's a large contingent here from the University of Washington and Boise. So I think the way I'm going to do this is in a couple of layers. We're going to get together. I'm going to invite you to get together in groups of 5. And you already know, because you filled out your profile, things you can talk about. Like things that are really interesting is like, what is it you want to get out of this Hackweek? And what is it that you're attracted to, you want to do, and ways that you can help, right? And some of you might even want to talk about your picture, because you may have been doing research, or be with your sister's, your neighbor's court that I found out this morning. So since I want you to meet different people, I think what I'm going to do is ask everyone, except if you're from the University of Washington or Boise, stay seated right now. And the rest of you, I think it'll make up about 10 to 12 groups. It'd be fun to go outside for a little bit. So I think we could get maybe 5 groups out here and 5 groups out here. I will tell you when to come back in. Don't worry about that. So if you're not from one of those 2 universities, self-direct yourself to moving out here, and let's form groups of 3 right now. Form groups of 3, like 5 out here, 5 out here. And then we'll start moving and distributing the University of Washington and Idaho. Does that make sense? So please stand up and go outside and form groups of 3. And distribute yourself amongst the 2 outside groups. Do we want to stop recording? Numbing experiences of PowerPoint tutorials, and it's hard. You're not with people, it's really easy to check out, right? So this might not be as important, I know, but I still think it is. It's something about, on one hand, you got to know that the people that are given tutorials, you cannot even imagine how much work they put into those tutorials. They have been trained on how to put together tutorials. They've practiced together, and gotten feedback, like really want to do a good job, make sure it's the best learning experience and interactive experience they can offer you. So like, when they're given tutorials and they've incorporated prompts, you know, to help make sure that you're engaged, you know, engage fully if you can. And that is in Slack, and when you're seeing them in breaks, telling them how awesome that tutorial was, how much you got out of it. It's something about creating a really positive space. I think in our culture now, we don't hear, you did a great job nearly enough, and it really makes a big difference. When you get together on your project teams, it's going to be very important as you're learning together, because sometimes you're getting on those project teams, you're going to feel like, oh my God, I don't belong here. I don't know what they know. Some of you are going to be really strong in the coding and the open science part, and some of you are going to be really strong and know about the data and SnowEx and the science part. So together, you're going to make a great project, right? So everybody is an expert at something, and it's really important if we are giving each other this attaboys. I don't know exactly if that's a politically correct, attaboy is kind of out of date, isn't it? If you know what the update one for that is, let me know later. But basically, it's like just high five each other. And I think with that, I'm turning it over to Anthony.
Thank you, Charlie. I just have a quick announcement about connecting to the internet, which we forgot to mention. On the first page of the Jupyter book, so there's our opening splash page for SnowEx Hackweek, and then there's that big button for the 2022 Jupyter book. You'll see at the top of that Jupyter book opening page information on how to connect to the University of Washington Wi-Fi. There should be a net ID that's specific to this event and a password. Anyone has any issues, go ahead and post in that help channel, or you can have one of us come around.
Just rocking with that hero that we got.
Oh, Edgy Road, yeah, it's a great option for sure.